Today, I want to talk about being in a relationship with someone who has narcissistic and avoidant tendencies. If you don't know me, my name's Deborah. I'm a transformational healer and intuitive coach, and I work with so many clients privately and in groups that are going through either a breakup or are still in a relationship with someone who has these tendencies. And whenever I do collective readings on my social media, so many people comment and say, "Oh my God, you're telling my story." I'm not here to diagnose anyone. Many people with these traits are remarkably similar. And so I'm telling everybody's story, more or less. In this video, I hope this gives you some kind of clarity and also helps you to start to heal from being in a very confusing dynamic with a partner. I want to share a few of these playbook tendencies that I've come up with, but I also want to share my personal story weaved into this so that you can really understand what I've been through and maybe if it is similar to your story, which probably it is. So the first stage when you meet someone like this is that it's like a dream come true. You meet this person and you think, "Oh my God, I've met my soulmate." That's how I felt. I thought this person was the one and the chemistry was off the charts. In my case, there was not really future faking, but a lot of avoidance and narcissists, they future fake with you. They mirror you. They try to say and do all the things that you want to hear. And this is where we get bamboozled and we don't realize it in the beginning. In my case, I felt like this person felt like home, and subconsciously, I didn't realize that this person had similar traits to what I was used to growing up because I also grew up with a narcissist and there was a lot of abuse there and a lot of trauma. So I felt like I was at home. But of course I didn't see at the time that it was so familiar and so similar. The second trait that I have experienced is they they love to be a victim. And in my case, I had a covert narcissist, which is even more confusing because it's not so obvious like an overt narcissist. Now, I don't like to put anybody in boxes, so I don't want to label this person that they were for sure. They have tendencies, and this is the thing: is I believe that anyone can heal if they start to do the inner work. But when they have these tendencies, again, it can be quite confusing. So they love to be the victim. When I first met my ex, now ex, um, of course, he talked about his ex-wife and how terrible she was and all the things. Even though he tried to make her not so bad, but he also victimized himself by how she was behaving. But of course, you're only hearing one side, right? But that makes me feel like, oh, I can be much better than her. I can give the love and the understanding better than she can. But that's part of the playbook is they play victim. And I noticed this all the way till the end, especially at the end. The third one is inconsistency, hot and cold, disappearing. That one was very much in the beginning where he disappeared. He, for long periods, we weren't living together. We were living separately, but he wouldn't reach out. And it was now looking back, I see that I think he was up to probably visiting other women that were friends, being very, very secretive in the guise of being private. Of course, when you're in this dreamland, like I was, where I'm feeling like everything is so beautiful and wonderful, but underneath everything, it was like something wasn't right. This inconsistency and disappearing act is very common in people that have these kind of tendencies. The other thing that I also experienced over the time that I was with him is that he would go out of his way to help strangers wherever we were, which also made him very charming. Then he would also like talk to strangers for a long time, especially older people, because that's the field that he was in. And I thought that was very sweet and everything, but there was a lot of times that I was ignored. I didn't really want to see it at the time, but it was a little awkward. Here's a big one: friends with exes. That was a big one that even all the way till the end. And this is something also that he said in the beginning. He said he was very transparent. You know, he was telling me about past relationships, past girlfriends, ex-wife, yada yada, all that stuff. But he left out someone who was still a supply to him, because when we first broke up, which was one of many, which is embarrassing to say, he went right back to her and later said, "Oh, she's a friend. She's an ex girlfriend, but she's just a friend." Of course, that wasn't the case. He would stay friends with these people. And on social media, he would also like all their posts. And it was just very inappropriate. And I know social media can be a little sketchy, crossing boundaries. But what what he probably doesn't even realize is that this is emotional cheating. If you are in a committed relationship, this is emotional cheating. Now, when he actually hooked up with these other people when we were off, that's not considered cheating, but it definitely devalues the connection that you even had, because you are replaceable. They make you very replaceable. Why? Because they're thinking only of themselves, and they're very self protecting, and they are very self centered, and they need the supply to make them feel worthy. And they don't feel worthy of themselves. So they keep supply always in the back burner or on the sidelines. The other trait is putting the phone down. Not all of them do, but usually most of them do. Mine did. Always putting the phone down, being very secretive, and outright lying to me when, I mean, I'm an intuitive. I know things. And, you know, and I turned into an investigator, which I thought maybe I missed my calling, but that's not what I wanted to do. But of course, when you feel something, and most women do, when you feel something's off, it usually is. The lies would come frequently. Another one is not communicating, control, like not communicating, but also when you did communicate, when you're sharing time together, was controlling the conversation, would interrupt me all the time, deflecting, 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 which devalues you, doesn't really give you, it's like a way of establishing kind of pecking order, so to speak, or dominance over you. It's a way of controlling and manipulating. And this is very common. This is one of the common traits. And then also not even communicating. And when you need to communicate about something that, you know, maybe like, hey, I'm not comfortable with you liking all your ex's posts on social media. It's like, then it becomes, oh, okay, we got to have a conversation. And then they deflect from that. They don't like to be on the spot because you're calling them out. And the other one is pulling away, distancing themselves, and then discarding. This was a big one that I didn't even see before he tried to discard me, is that when he would be the victim in his ex-wife, you know, talking about his ex-wife, you know, he discarded her. And that is his way also of controlling and manipulating and self protecting. It's in a weird way, and intuitively I felt like, wow, this person's really shooting themselves in the foot, because there's no awareness or opening for any type of healing, for any kind of reasoning and talking and healing. He shuts people out completely to self-serve. And but it really isn't healthy. It's not a healthy trait. The other one is the grass is greener. They always think the grass is greener. They always think that they can get better. And that eventually is brought to their attention that that's not the case. And then they have an awakening But usually, when the awakening comes and they realize what they lost, it's too late. And also, they haven't really or are willing to do any of the work, the inner work. And a lot of people that have been in these kind of relationships, including myself, we always think, oh my God, they're going to find somebody else and treat them so much better than they did with me. They're going to give them everything I wanted and I begged for from them. Not the case unless they start to do the work. And most of them don't, but if they do, then maybe they can do that. It's not always the case. And so if you are going through that and you're entertaining those thoughts, I would highly recommend to release that because it is going to torture you. And if you really saw behind closed doors what's really going on, they're doing the same thing to the next supply like they did to you. And as you start to heal, you will start to have epiphanies left and right. And I still to this day have epiphanies and I think, oh my God, I I can't believe I let that slide. I can't believe you said that and I let that slide. But that's where you don't want to beat yourself up. And that I will get to that in a moment. The other characteristic tendency they have, now not all of them, but some of them have sexuality issues. And I suspected that my ex had that um, because of certain events that took place. But again, it's so over the top when you're in it that you can't even comprehend it. And you don't even really see it because you're still in love with this person. You have the rose colored glasses on. This is something that maybe doesn't hit you right away because you see something, but you're in denial because you're like, no, that can't be true. That can't be true. Really? Yeah, it could be true. In my case, I feel like my ex just never healed from deep scars that he has and shame around those scars or those experiences that he had in his darker days. I just feel like he hasn't healed from that. And so it comes out in wonky ways. Because if you suppress all this stuff, it's going to come out in wonky ways. You want to try to heal from it. And that's what I want to share with you, that my process, release, rewrite, receive, is what I share with people, with clients, and in groups. So if you're going through this kind of trauma bond, basically, and you have awakened to this and you are ready to heal, then you are welcome to try my process and you are welcome to join my community. Everything is in the description in this video, but I want to share with you what releasing is and how I do this. Releasing is seeing your part in that dynamic, seeing and taking responsibility for your side without doubting yourself, because that's part of this dynamic is you're doubting yourself. You try to work on yourself like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Why aren't they loving me like I deserve? Why are they treating me this way? And so all of that self-doubt, um, it keeps on going even if you get out of the relationship, but that's what you want to heal. And so releasing helps you to take responsibility for the choice that you made to stay in this relationship, and then to start to ask yourself, what is running the show subconsciously that made me choose this person and stay in this relationship? What I discovered is that I had a mother who was very abusive emotionally. And so she would punish me. She would withdraw. She would not communicate if I did something wrong, which is exactly what I went through in this dynamic. She would talk down to me. She would belittle me. She would control, manipulate, all of that stuff. And so when I met him subconsciously, I was like, I'm home. This is familiar. This is what I know. And I discovered even later that I was an avoidant as well. And I shared that in one of my recent videos, that most of the time avoidance will attract other avoidants, even though a lot of people in the social media world say that avoidance attract anxious attachments. They do. But those anxious attached people are also avoidants because they become anxious to not look at themselves. So in a way, they're still avoidance. And that's my That's my opinion. I discovered that I was an avoidant because being in my family growing up, to be myself and to be vulnerable was not safe. So I chose someone who I didn't have to be vulnerable with. Even though I wanted to and I tried, I couldn't because this person was not safe because they were busy surviving as well. And people that have narcissistic and avoidant tendencies are really just busy surviving. They're not thriving. They're sometimes they sleep a lot. I know mine did. There's so many things that they do. And when I share this with people, they go, "Oh my God, that's my story. Yes, that's exactly what happened." It takes a lot of energy to suppress and to be secretive. So, going back to release, rewrite, receive, releasing is becoming aware of the tendencies, the subconscious tendencies that are running the experiencing of your life. And when you can see them, that's half the battle. You become aware of them and you say, enough of this. And you start to release the emotional charge of these beliefs that you have about yourself. And usually they're limiting beliefs that you have about yourself. So you probably even walked into this relationship feeling like you weren't lovable, you weren't good enough, you weren't chosen. That's what I did. I didn't realize that. I had done a lot of work on myself. But somehow, some way, there was more work to be done. With the releasing, you become aware and you release these tendencies. And that's when the healing begins. And if you have someone like me coaching you, working with you side by side, it helps you to really see. And I do this through energy healing as well. The second step is rewriting a new script. Writing a new script. That's the fun part. You start to write about what you want. Because when you're involved in a relationship like this, you lose yourself. You don't even know what you want anymore. And in my case, I thought I knew what I wanted. But when I saw the reality of what was going on, I knew that my heart wasn't convinced. And I got out of it. And my life looks so different now. And it pushed me into a new timeline, into a new version of me that is so much happier and so much more fulfilled. When you write a new script, you start thinking of what you want. You get very specific. And that's when you start to see the world out there starting to change. Even if you want that person back, maybe you're in separation with them, you've had a painful breakup and you really want to work it out. You absolutely can manifest them back if that's what you want. But if you've been in this kind of toxic dynamic, you probably won't want them back. Even if you start to release and you think I want them back, and then you'll start to discover, yeah, I don't think so. That may not be the healthiest thing for me. The third is to receive a new timeline, a new version of you. That's when you really start to thrive, and you will be so conscious that when you get back out there to be open for another relationship, you will definitely be aware and you will recognize those patterns really quickly, and you won't even attract those kind of people anymore. They won't be attracted to you either. When you do the release, rewrite, receive, you really change your frequency. You change your chemistry. You change the projections that you're putting out there. You're no longer thinking, oh my God, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. Because the more you think about that, the more that's what you attract. Everything we think about is what we're projecting and what we're experiencing. No more, no less. So there's no way we can be a victim. And you will recognize if you start to talk to someone if they're being in victim mode. And you'll be like, no, I'm not interested in that. But you will make healthy choices. Absolutely, you will make healthy choices, and your whole life will improve in every other area. And believe it or not, when you start to do this healing work and you stop feeding that kind of toxic dynamic with someone and you truly disconnect, you are helping that person more than you ever could imagine. Because when you change, everyone else around you changes. Even if you're in no contact, they will be helped indirectly. Because staying in a relationship like that and feeding their bad behavior and accepting that bad behavior is not doing anyone any good, including you. And you're not really helping anyone. This is really powerful work. So if this really resonates and you want to start to heal, you're welcome to join my community. You're welcome to book a private session. But if you're new with me, I hope you like and subscribe. I welcome you to try the Release, Rewrite, Receive and see how it works for you. Have a good day.